You are listening to Move Forward with Matt Campisi. Move Forward is an interesting mix of motivational, political, and comedic discussions designed to empower, inspire, and entertain. Host Matt Campisi is a political candidate and social advocate. Episodes feature special guests and occasional artistic performances. And now here is your host, Matt Campisi.
Hi guys, welcome to another Move Forward with Matt Campisi podcast. I'm your host, Matt Campisi. On today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about nostalgia. The title of this podcast is Nostalgia for the Past. I miss my childhood. Can anybody relate to this? I think the older that you get, this is going to be one of those things that you really need to be in maybe your late 30s, 40s, 50s to really connect with. My younger listeners, definitely folks in their 20s, teenagers, even early 30s, you guys might not really connect with this one because this is something that really affects people as they age, as they get older. They start feeling a really strong sense of nostalgia for the past. The good old days, man, the good old days. You're longing for the good old days. Can anybody relate? Anybody out there listening to this, can they relate? Do you miss your childhood? Do you find yourself daydreaming, thinking about what life was like when you had not a care in the world, where you were sitting on your bed and you hear the sound of the ice cream man coming and just the sheer exhilaration, the sheer joy that just comes over you. And you're like, shit, I got to get some money. I got to go run and I got to catch that ice cream man because damn it, I want some ice cream. And for me, I could tell you, this was back in the 80s during the WWF, now WWE wrestling heyday. My favorite ice cream to buy from the ice cream man at that time in the 80s was called the WWF Superstars of Wrestling Ice Cream Bar. And what it was it was an ice cream bar, and on the bar was actually, one of your favorite WWF WWE wrestlers. Oh man, Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, Bret the Hitman Hart, folks like that, Andre the Giant, stuff like that, man. And I loved when the ice cream man would come around and you'd hear that ice cream man song that he would play. Oh man, was that awesome. What about riding bikes? Remember putting baseball cards in the spokes of your bike to make that cool sound as you sped down the road on your bicycle? Man, those were the days. So I was a little kid, really young kid, bicycle riding kid in the 80s, which was, I think, one of the greatest decades, man. The 1980s were amazing. Ronald Reagan was the president. And it was just awesome. Number one TV show was Family Ties on NBC. Oh man, those were the days. You remember the 1980s, guys? Yeah, that's when I was a little kid. And then in the 90s, as we started to come into the grunge era, the Nirvana and the Pearl Jam, the Soundgarden era, that's when I was a teenager. So I was a teenager right around that time, the flannel stuff. That's when I was a teenager. So I got kind of two really cool decades there of growing up. I caught the 80s and then I caught the grunge era. And it was a really, really cool time to grow up. I grew up in New York, just outside of New York City on Long Island. Long Island is a actual island, suburban island. Kind of, some people would consider it like a bedroom community of people commuting to the city. They come back to their suburban houses at nighttime. But it was at the time a very, very nice place to grow up. I was a middle class. I grew up middle class. And yeah, I had a really, really good childhood in my estimation of it. So anyway, this podcast is more so about that nostalgia, that longing for days long gone by, that nostalgia for the past, missing your childhood. Do you ever have like an ache inside your body, a yearning to go back to the days when life was just so much simpler, when, the biggest concern was not, paying bills or dealing with some asshole boss. The biggest concern was, Billy got grounded, so now he can't play. And, Oh no, our sleepover's canceled. Those were your biggest concerns in life, man. Oh man, what I wouldn't do. And then as you grow older, people pass away. People that were, a part of your life, they pass away, and you really realize the death of your childhood. That time is gone, and it's never coming back, and that just it leaves you kind of hollow inside, like, oh man, it's gone. It's just my childhood is just living in my memories. There's some photographs. We still have some photographs lying around, but besides that and the old memories inside my head, that's all that's left of my generation, of my childhood. Can anybody relate to this at all? Nostalgia for the past. I miss my childhood. On Move Forward with Matt Campisi. First, I want to define nostalgia. What do I mean by nostalgia? Well, the actual definition of nostalgia is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. That is the actual definition of nostalgia. So what do I have nostalgia for? Well, I have nostalgia for the place, the actual places where I had these experiences and the people that I had those experiences with. What are some examples? My friends, my best friends, the people when I was growing up, particularly when I was a little kid, the people that I was best friends with, the people whose houses I would sleep over their house. We would play in the woods together. We would build forts. We would ride bikes together. We would go to the park together. Those friends, those sleepovers, those talking till all hours of the night and talking about nonsense and making plans to do stupid stuff. And uh, I remember one time we had a plan that we were gonna catch a snake. We wanted to, for some reason we had a fascination with snakes, and me and my friends, we said, because I lived around in an area that was surrounded by a wooded area. It was surrounded by woods. So we had a plan that we were going to go into the woods, and we were gonna catch snakes. We were snake hunters. This was long before, this was in the 80s, long before the crocodile hunter ever was on television. But we actually did. There was about 4 or 5 of us, and we actually went into the to the woods, and it was a pretty thick area with streams and all kinds of stuff around, and we actually uh, went hunting for snakes. I mean, that's kind of dumb stuff that you do when you're 10 years old. I think I was like 10 or 11. So that's a very fun memory that I have of the past. But I miss those best friends, those people that I would spend time with. I would have sleepovers. There is even, some negative memories that I think about. I think about, bullying, me dealing with some bullying when I was young. Obviously, that stuff's, a little traumatizing when you think about it. But even still, that's part of the nostalgia. It's part of it. It's part of what has made me who I am. And I do think about that as well when I'm thinking about my childhood. I remember the kids, I remember their faces. I remember some of the things they said to me, some of the verbal abuse and things I still remember to this day, which really goes to show that, I'm 47 years old, and, I'm still thinking about something that some little kid told me when I was, maybe 7 or 8 years old. So that really can show you how much of an impact those childhood experiences can really have on you. I remember my first physical fight, the first time that I ever got punched in the face or punched somebody else. So there's negative stuff there that, is thrown in, but a lot of good. The good really, really outweighs the bad. I remember the first time I was drunk, the first time I've ever had alcohol, which was an experience. Saying likewise, I remember the first time I ever smoked pot and first time I was ever high in that experience of doing that with friends. Um, I remember learning to drive, what that was like. I have some fond memories of my mother and my father taking me out in their car have some very, very interesting memories of that kind of funny stuff, but I'll keep that to myself. Little League Baseball. I played Little League Baseball, just playing sports. I played for the town league. It was not connected to the school. It was a town league that they had, and I played Little League Baseball. I also did the same for soccer. I played soccer growing up. I remember going to the beach. I'm from Long Island, so we have beaches on the north side and the south side. I lived on the south end of Long Island, and I definitely went to all the local town beaches as well as Jones Beach, which is a world famous Jones Beach. I was definitely there. I went to a lot of those same beaches that were part of the Long Island serial killer case. That's why that case hit so close to home, because a lot of those places where the serial killer had dumped those bodies, those are places that was my stomping ground when I was a little kid. I would go. Um, I'd be running around on those dunes as a kid in the same places where he was dumping bodies. So that really hit home when I heard about that. But I loved going to the beach. How can you not when you're a Long Island kid? You know, the beach is just part of life. What else? My first kiss, my first girlfriend, my first car. Remember graduating high school. Remember dances at school. Oh man, I used to love to go to dances. My first rock concert. Oh man, is anybody reminiscing about their own lives as I talk about this? You remember these things? You remember your first car, your first girlfriend, your first kiss? Oh man. And then I want to say, what is it like for you when you actually, well, let me preface it with this. I mean, do you live in the same town that you grew up in? Are you living in the same general area? Then this probably isn't so applicable, but especially for those of us who've moved away from where we grew up. Like I said, I don't live on Long Island anymore. I don't even live in New York anymore. So for me, it's a big deal when I go back and just to get filled with that nostalgia of being back, and just the memories just come flooding in, and just remembering things that happened um, right in that very spot, looking and being somewhere where something, very pivotal, or maybe even not so pivotal, just things that happened in my life. It's really amazing to be in that space again. And how do you feel when you're back in your hometown, maybe even back in your childhood home, if that's a possibility, if it hasn't been sold, if new people aren't living there? How does it make you feel to be back in your childhood home, to be back in a standing in a park that you once played in, to be standing on the same road that you rode bicycles on? I mean, how does that make you feel? I know how it makes me feel, and that is very, very nostalgic. And I close my eyes and I can take myself back to that time when I was little Matt Campisi, 7 years old, and just riding down the street with my bicycle with my little baseball cards and the spokes, thinking I was the coolest thing ever back then, man. Um, Nostalgia, yeah, nostalgia from the past, man. Wow, we can't bring those days back. We can't go back to 1985, 1987. We can't go back to the grunge era. We can't go back to 1992, 93. It's 2025. Those days are long, long gone, and they're never coming back. We can't get into a time machine. We can't go back to the past. The only way we can go back to the past is through our memories, through, maybe some of us are lucky enough to have some photographs. Some of us might have some video, some video from the time that still has survived all these years. But it was an amazing time, and there's nothing wrong with having that nostalgia for just appreciating the good times that you've had in your life, looking back on those good times and smiling. Some of the people you lost along the way. As you grow older, you lose people. Some of them were adults, and just old age. You lost some of those mentors, some of those people, those adults in your life are passed on. They're gone now. Some even are your peers that you grew up with are no longer with us. Passed away. And it's a sad thing. You wish that they were still here with you. You wish that, they were happy and living a good life, but it's not always in the cards for everybody. Some people live a long life, and some people that just wasn't in the cards for them. So nostalgia. I think most of you guys that are up there in age can really relate to this podcast and what I'm talking about today. Do you have a story to tell me about nostalgia for the past, missing your childhood? Reach me at my website. It's matthewcampisi.com. That's MatthewCampisi.com. On the top of the page, there is a contact link. Click on that contact link and fill out an email and tell me a story about something that you miss about your childhood, something nostalgic you want to share with me. Go ahead and send it. All positive, value based emails I read, and I may respond to you. Can't guarantee it, but I'm going to try to respond to you. Just depends on how many emails I receive. If I don't receive that many, then I'll definitely, when I get a chance, respond to you. I will tell you, I will not respond to anything abusive, anything negative, guys. Don't even bother. You're wasting your time. I'll get 3 words into it, be like, oh, I know where this is going, and it's going to get deleted. And definitely don't send any threatening stuff to me, because I will report it. Sorry I have to say that, but yeah, it's happened. Anyway, so if you have something to share with me, go ahead and do that, please, because it invigorates me. It reminds me that there are people out there listening to this. And it helps me to connect with my audience. I really, really do want to connect with you guys. And I think there are people out there who I can connect with on this issue of nostalgia, missing your childhood. So let me know if there's something you want to talk about as it pertains to nostalgia. So let's talk about moving forward from the past. So I want to end the podcast by talking about how we move forward from that, because we've already well established that those years are gone. We're not kids anymore. We're not living with mom and dad, and we're not in we're not in grade school anymore. We're grown adults. So how do we move past this? Nostalgia for childhood is something almost everyone feels at some point. It can be both sweet and painful. How we deal with it depends on whether it's bringing comfort, sadness, or even longing for something we can't return to. Here are some ways to process and work with it. The first thing is acknowledge the feeling. Nostalgia is a sign that those years meant something to you. Instead of pushing it away, pause and notice what exactly you're missing. Are you missing the freedom, the innocence, certain people, or specific experiences? You can recreate elements of childhood, revisit the things that brought you joy, favorite books, music, cartoons, snacks, or even hobbies. Sometimes doing a small activity from childhood can soften the ache and bring some comfort. Carry the spirit into today. Ask yourself, what did I love about being a kid that I can bring into my adult life? Maybe it's curiosity, playfulness, or time outdoors. Incorporating these qualities into your present life helps to bridge the gap. What about connecting with others through memories? Sharing old stories with family or friends can make nostalgia feel less lonely. Sometimes laughing about old memories together makes them feel alive again. Honor growth. Nostalgia sometimes makes us believe the best times are behind us. Try reframing. Those moments shaped you, and you now have the ability to create new memories. Childhood was unique, but adulthood has freedoms and possibilities childhood just didn't. Create new traditions. Nostalgia is often tied to rituals, which are like holidays, summer breaks, family routines. Making your own traditions now. What about weekly movie nights, special meals, adventures? Can give you something to look forward to instead of only looking back. Use nostalgia as inspiration, not an escape, right? Let it guide what matters to you today. For example, if you miss the sense of wonder you had as a child, maybe travel, learning, or creative projects can awaken that. A good question to ask yourself is, am I remembering my childhood because I want to relive it, or because it's pointing me towards something I want more of now. What I just read was something that I got off the internet. It was AI generated about nostalgia, and I do think that is some great advice for people like myself who are struggling with that ache in their heart, that longing for childhood. And I think that's some really, really good information there. Is focus on the now, man. Try to make memories today, you know. That is just awesome. And that's why, I'm all about that. I'm all about spending time with the people that I love in my life, particularly my wife. Go out, doing things, going on trips, and making new memories. It's super important, guys. Super important because life's not over yet. We have this nostalgia for our childhood, but there's still more to come, guys. There's still more to come. Hopefully, we've got a whole life ahead of us and we've still got more memories to make. Guys, thank you so much for listening to another great episode of Move Forward with Matt Campisi. And as always, guys, have a great day.